Yeah, so I know this video title is probably going to set a lot of people off, but I please urge you, please listen to the video before you comment out of anger. Like, Jeremy, you doing too much. There you go again, assuming the worst and yada. I am only speculating. This is what the channel is about, speculation and discussion. Now, we all know about, Karen's current situation. She's obviously and understandably not handling the loss of her child very well. And, it's led to a lot of concerns in regards to her own health and well-being, given the fact that the description for the episode states that, the doctor recommended Karen, walks around a bit, kind of get on her feet. That way she can go through the healing process of the C-section, but she just wants to lay in bed and just, go off. She doesn't want to be around people or anything. And we didn't see the baby in the promo, so I'm just going to assume that Karen's, living child is still at the hospital, probably, for observation. Probably just for safety. It's like, hey, the other kid was a stillborn, so we'd like to just take a day or two to, keep the surviving baby here just to, do some tests, make sure everything is cool just in case. But the conversation is, when the baby comes home, like, will Karen be in too much of a funk to breastfeed or nurse, basically tend to the child that survived? I mean, it's really giving If Loving You Is Wrong vibes when Alex had the baby and she saw that it was, dark skin. It was like, I don't want this baby, I'll give it for adoption. And then the girls kept pushing her to take care of it. I mean, it was Alex's decision what she wanted to do, but whatever. So essentially, when it comes down to it, do you think that Karen, in her depression and grief, will she neglect the child that survived due to the fact that she's so torn up about losing her other baby, who just so happened to be the baby with the man that she initially wanted to have a baby with to begin with? The man that she kept claiming, Zach is the father. Aaron, there's no chance. And sure, over time, after finding out about the double baby daddy situation, she eventually became open to Aaron being around, especially when he put his foot down for a change. But in the back of her mind, and a lot of people point out, Jeremy, she named that baby Forever Taylor for a reason. Because maybe in her mind, she still feels like, even though the baby's gone, I'm still, linked to Zachary Taylor forever. But kind of, but not really. Yeah, you're linked via your daughter, but she passed away. So on some sort of like a spiritual, emotional level, yeah, you're still forever tied together. But in terms of being in each other's lives, that's not necessarily, no. So my thing is this, because I actually had a brief discussion on Twitter with another fan about this, because I saw their post in regards to, Karen and how she might not tend to her surviving child out of grief. Aaron has been on the receiving end of Karen's rejection for quite some time. Yet he just takes it, with a, straight face. It doesn't matter how many times Karen told him, Aaron, you're a great guy. You're an amazing man. But I can't really move forward with you because I'm still having conflicting feelings about Zach. Or I need some space. And he just would never respect when she requested that space and time to think. Essentially, I compared him to Urkel from Family Matters. Like, it didn't matter how many times Laura said no, he would still stick around, be intrusive, and this, that, and the third. But he was still convinced, I guess maybe in his own mind, I'm the right man for you. Let me show you how better I am. Really, it came down to him wanting to prove to Karen that he's a better man for her than Zach ever was. So he just kept going. He just kept trying no matter what. And it got to the point where, after Karen just said, look, there's no way this kid is your child. You need to go. We're done. But until, the DNA test and whatever, he came back when she mentioned how I'm pregnant with twins. You're one of the dads. So Aaron, to me, it's one thing for him to constantly get rejected, but he still keeps coming back because it's like he's determined to prove to Karen, like, hey, you will love me. But I think the breaking point for Aaron, because remember in season 1 when his ex-wife Fawn, went to the Andy's office because, Aaron wanted an immediate divorce because she was a cheater. We saw like a darker, aggressive side of Aaron that honestly I don't really think we saw after that. Ever. But the breaking point, like, his thing was never cheating. I think personally, because if memory serves, this is Aaron's first kid, because the kids that were, he was taking care of when he was with Fawn, those were kids that Fawn had. So they were like, his stepchildren. But then, after the divorce and everything, Fawn's family took full custody. So, Aaron said this to Zach, I think in season 7 on the basketball court. So this will be his first child. So it's one thing for him to deal with Karen's rejection, but I think that he might reach his breaking point if he notices that Karen is low-key rejecting their child. Now, at first, Aaron probably won't think too much of it because, like, yeah, I understand she's grieving. She's, just still mourning the loss of, her other daughter. The fact that our baby is going to grow without a sibling and this, that, and the third. But I think over time, Aaron will start to see through the grief as not necessarily mourning the loss of Forever due to the fact that, I lost a daughter, but it goes deeper than that because of the fact that he sees that. And I feel like Aaron might actually say, Karen, I know you're still grieving, and I understand that. It makes sense, but are you grieving the loss of your other daughter? Because, obviously you were expecting 2 children, but you only had 1. Or are you grieving your other daughter because you're no longer linked to Zach? And here's another question that will be just a gut punch if he said it. Karen, I need you to answer this question honestly. If you lost my daughter instead of Zach's, if the roles were reversed, would you still be mourning the way you are now? That would be just... how dare you? I feel like that question might come up. Like, if she carries on for just way too long and she's like absent-minded and not really taking care of the baby at all, almost like she wants nothing to do with her surviving daughter because she's, thinking about the fact that she had this plan, like, oh, yes, I was right about Zach being the father, and oh, I'm going to be tied to Zach forever, but now that's gone. Now, remember, at the beginning of season 4, after, taking because didn't Zach go up the street to get a freaking bag of pregnancy tests, and Karen took like a bunch of them saying like, yep, I'm pregnant. And then Zach's like, so what you going to do? Well, I've always wanted to be a mother. So now that was low key my way of thinking, like Zach was probably, without saying the A word, was wondering if Karen would keep the baby or not. And Karen's remark of, oh, well, I've always wanted to be a mother. That to me was like, yeah, the only reason she wants to go through with this pregnancy is because she's under the assumption that it's Zach's baby. Now, remember a season or 2 later when Aaron was confident, oh, I'm the baby, the timelines match up and whatnot. And it was really uncertain as to who the baby daddy was. Even though Karen kept saying it was Zach, she also was like, and Andy and whoever else, like, what will you do if it's Aaron's? Like, well, I don't know him well enough to have a baby with him. So when she was adamant on it being Zach's baby, well, I always wanted to be a mother, so aka I'm keeping this baby because it's yours. But when she was conflicted with information, it's like, if it's Aaron's baby, I don't know him well enough to have a baby with him. I think that since she lost Zach's baby, I low-key don't think Karen might be into being a mom like she thought she was. So, unfortunately, that baby might be on the receiving end of neglect, and not to any fault of her own, or because it's a daughter, my bad. Yeah, of her own, but it's just the fact that her mom lost her baby, sister that would have been tethered to Zach, and since Zach is no longer in the equation, now it's like, what am I supposed to do now? So I think Aaron could possibly get fed up and decide to try to fight for full custody if, once the baby, is, well, if Karen isn't doing anything for the baby, I guess, well, yeah, not breastfeeding or anything, so he'll be taken care of somehow. I think Aaron might fight for full custody and leave if it comes to that. I hope it doesn't. That'd be one hell of a dark storyline, but I could see something like that happening because we, like with Fawn, we know that when Aaron is fed up, he will drop everything and go. But I don't think he would leave his daughter behind because it's like, whoa, I'm not leaving my child with a mom who doesn't want to care for her whatsoever, simply due to the fact that she's not the child with the man that she initially wanted to be co-parenting with. So yeah, I think if things get that dark and Aaron calls out Karen for grieving, not necessarily just for losing her daughter, but also her tether to Zach, and as a consequence of that situation, their daughter is neglected by her. Whew, man, that could, like I said, this could make for some good TV. It really could. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.